Okay, guys, I think I'm live. So, as you can tell by the title, I'm watching this. So, I'm going to be doing a few things real fast. And, okay, good. It's still on. But, anyways, I'm going to be doing a few things really fast, and then I'll be back. So, yeah, see ya. Yeah, I think I'm going to have the blinds off. Well, closed, if you know what I'm trying to say. So the light's not, like, really weird. And let me turn up the volume.
Of course I have. Well, I got rid of the individual mandate. Excuse me, I got rid of the individual mandate, which was.
Oh my God, they're talking so fast.
Absolutely a big thing. That was the worst part of Obamacare. Chris, that was the worst part of Obamacare.
Holy, wow, it started off pretty crazy already. But yeah, I was 15 minutes late because I had to do stuff for my grandma and Cody, of course. My lovely dog, Cody. But I'm back. Probably going to be live for like an hour, maybe. Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm basically going to be watching this presidential debate because I really want Trump to win. Because Biden, I don't like him. He's horrible. He sucks. He's not right for our country. So yeah, I really want Trump to win. Or at least with the debate.
Healthcare plan.
So yeah.
First of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something. There's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with.
Oh wow! I didn't got a haircut.
That's a courage to do because you're going against big pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could.
I might also do this with Shoot, I messed up. God damn it. But anyways, what I was trying to say was I might do another one of these with my plushies maybe because that's kind of like what Superman Richie does a little bit with the SMR Live. And I was thinking of doing that, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll let you guys know. But yeah.
The drugs, what we're doing, prescription drug prices, we're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because they pay just a tiny fraction.
This is open discussion.
No, but this is big. This is big stuff,
sir. You'll be happy. I'm about to pick up on one of your points to ask the vice president, which is he points out that you would like to add a public option
Goldfish.
to Obamacare. And the argument
That's on
that
a
he made, and other Republicans made,
you're wondering,
is that is going to end private insurance.
It is.
I'm asking the question. And it will end.
The party says, by the way,
it will end private insurance and create a government takeover of health care.
It does not. It's only for those people who are so poor they qualify for Medicaid. They can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people who are poor Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare would. Medicaid would automatically.
Oh my God, that reminds me of me just earlier with the live stream.
American people would still not be in that option. Number one.
Joe, you agree with Bernie Sanders, far left, on the manifesto. Manifesto, you socialized medicine.
Look, hey,
are you saying
not going to let us know? The fact of the matter is, I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by much.
Surprisingly.
I'm here standing facing you.
Pocahontas would have.
2
days early, you would have.
I like how Trump just cuts off everyone.
Tuesday. You got a very lucky deal.
I used to not like that, but I do now.
Tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to make sure because here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar. But I just want to make sure. I want to make
sure. Who does that? I hope this guy doesn't.
Can you let him finish, sir?
He doesn't know how to do that. He has, you pick
be surprised.
The wrong guy, the wrong night at the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with Bernie Sanders to the
whole idea.
They're like arguing for no reason.
Number two,
you just lost the left.
Number two,
you just lost the left.
This is the only thing I like about politics when they just complain like this. It's really fun.
Do you have any idea what this is doing?
Socialized medicine.
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah. China.
For any
China.
for people needing
China.
healthcare.
Ooh.
Because
That's what Roni does.
Because he, in fact,
Well, at
already
least used
has
to.
cost 10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two, there are 20 million people getting health care through Obamacare now that he wants to take it away. He won't ever look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it away.
Oh, I want to give
Number
you better
three.
health care at a much lower price because
by the way, he doesn't know how. He doesn't know how to
I've
do
already
that.
fixed it.
He has never offered.
Wow, no one's watching this video yet. Wow, that's crazy. But it's okay. I mean, if you guys don't watch it, I'm gonna have it up for like a couple weeks, and then I'll probably take it down.
Is no good. We made it better, and I had a choice to make.
But the second one, I'm only gonna have it up once, and if you miss it, then you miss
Took
it.
away the individual mandate. Listen, this is the way it is, and that destroyed.
Look at
They
Biden.
shouldn't even call it Obamacare.
I heard
Then I had a choice to make.
he
Do I let my people run
gets
it really
like
well?
so much makeup put on himself.
Badly. If I run it badly, they'll probably.
Oh yeah, and I forgot to tell you guys that if I have to leave, like if my grandma needs help with something, and if I have to like go and help her, then I'll probably still have the live stream up, of course, and you guys could just watch it without me or whatever. But hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm pretty sure it might at least a couple times, but I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure.
I have to give you roughly equal time. Please let the vice president talk.
He has no plan for health care. He sends out wishful thinking. He has executive orders that have no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising the health care plan since he got elected. He has none, like almost everything else he talks about. He does not have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. And
That's
the fact
weird.
is, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right,
He's
I have
Most of his plans have already been accomplished.
Mr. Vice President, if Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here, if Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president. But
Water.
It was brought up by some of your Democratic
I'm just kidding, guys.
colleagues.
Just
in-
kidding.
I'm saying
Because I was pretending to pour water on his head.
In the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now.
You're gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't
you're
want
a senator. I'm not going to answer the question
Why would
because
you answer that
because
question?
the question is.
Trump is so funny, I'm not gonna lie. But Biden has a point, though. I mean, you should vote.
This is so right.
Gentlemen, I think
This is so unprecedented.
Oh God, this is like what happened with Trump and Hillary. They were just rambling on and on.
Productive segment. Keep yapping, man.
The people understand.
Keep yapping, man. Wow, you're a
77
bully.
years you've done nothing. They understand.
And he likes it. He likes to be
The
a bully.
second subject is COVID-19, which is an awfully serious subject, so let's try to be serious about it. We have had more than 7 million cases of coronavirus in the United States. And
Oh yeah, I could give a crap about that. Seriously, guys, for real. Like I don't.
Reproduce
I mean, yeah, I definitely don't want to get it.
It could be
But then
months or even
Everyone
years
else in my family would get it, but I mean, I don't really care about it whatsoever.
normal. My question for both of you is based on what you have said and done so far and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 5%, 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back.
Don't
in
interrupt,
February
Trump.
how
You
serious
can
this
do it.
crisis was.
Don't
He
interrupt.
knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. He panicked. In addition to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was. He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then? He then did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan. I laid out back in March exactly what we should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in.
I don't know, Biden. I mean, you stay in your basement all day.
Democrats, Republicans, and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
So if we would have listened to
You
you,
have 2 minutes, sir.
if we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000.
Look at his
One
face.
person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going
Yeah,
in, but
it was
fault.
China's fault.
And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you a straight count, just so you understand. But if you look at what we've done, I closed it, and you said he's xenophobic. He's a racist, and he's xenophobic because you didn't think I should have closed our country. Wait a minute.
It says 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of your Democrat governors said President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that.
Well, to be honest, I don't think we should have been in lockdown in the first place, or at least for like 2 weeks,
President Trump did a
maybe a
phenomenal
month
job.
tops.
We did. We got the gowns.
But
we got the masks.
I don't think we
made the
really should
ventilators.
have
You
been
wouldn't have made
quarantined.
ventilators. And now
That was like
we're
the
weeks
dumbest
away
thing
from a
that America has
We're
ever
doing
been through.
therapeutics already.
Well,
Fewer
one of the
people are
dumbest
dying
things.
when they get sick. Far fewer
Actually,
people are dying.
You know
We've done
what?
a great
Probably the
job.
dumbest
The
thing
only
by
thing I
far.
haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you bad press on it. It's just fake news. They give you
Well,
bad
actually, to be
press,
honest,
they give me bad press,
most news
because that's
is,
the way it is, unfortunately.
I wouldn't
Let me
say
just tell you
fake,
something. I don't care.
but inaccurate. Like
But I'll tell you, Joe, you could
Fox,
never have done
like,
the job that we did.
Fox
You don't
News,
have
because
to
that's
do
what I'm
that.
watching it
You've never
on.
done that job.
Like,
I know how to do
I don't
the
believe
job.
they're 100%
I know how to
accurate,
do
but
the job.
Well, you didn't do very
I
well.
somewhat like them, so that's why I'm watching them.
H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was
A
no
very-
economic recession.
Sir, you made a
Far
There
less
was no recession.
You made a point. Let him
That's why I like Fox.
We didn't shut
Because
down the economy.
They show everything live. Like the other news channels, they don't even show anything live. They just show like clips that they want you to believe. This is like all live.
Because someone died of COVID. How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could in fact say
You
goodbye?
would have lost far
How
more
many
people.
people?
I don't know, back in the day when I was afraid that you were almost not even able to leave your house. I remember that
You
day.
could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he held up and he said, if we just...
So what? That's only 400,000. Could be low.
Just the mass. And by the way, in terms of the
I prefer Neki to fight. I'm
I
sorry.
prefer a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all. Nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist.
You don't
We
trust
Dr.
Johnson,
Fauci.
Pfizer.
And
That is true, though. I mean, scientists know what they're doing. At least most of them
about the
are.
future,
Some of
because you
them are
both have touched
pretty
on
cuckoo.
one of the two of the questions I'm going to ask.
Wow, 15 minutes and no one is watching this. Wow, unbelievable.
Either contradicted or
I'm gonna
been
see if the
involved
sun
with
is
some of your
set.
government's own top
Ah, beautiful
scientists.
sunset, guys. I know you can't
The
see it, but it's a really nice
Dr.
sunset.
Redfield said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words. But Dr. Slaoui, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies, and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because people like this
I dropped the
would rather
goldfish.
make it political than save lives. It is a
Son
very
of a
political
bee.
thing. I've spoken to.
That's what my dad
I've
says all the
spoken
time.
to all of the people. That
Instead of
get
saying
this
actual,
company,
you know,
Moderna,
bitch
Johnson
words,
&
you'd
Johnson,
say
and others.
bee.
They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political because the left, or I don't know if I call
So
it
you're
left, I don't know
suggesting
what I
that
call
the
it.
head of your Operation Warp Speed, Dr.
I
Sami,
disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
he talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available.
Because
Just
he
like
said
Dr.
it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have the answer before.
Holy crap, I just
first.
noticed a lot
It
of
could also be
orange.
after that.
Trump's
Well, look at
faces.
the deliberate
It's so
way. We have
orange.
The military all set up logistically.
He looks like a Oompa Loompa.
We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be.
This is the same man.
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
By Easter, this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the
I was
same
saying
man.
sarcastic.
That was
You know that.
Yeah, try drinking bleach. I heard it's really good for you.
This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine
Yeah,
done by the
possibly.
end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out. If we get the vaccine. And pray God we will. Pray God we
Mr.
will.
Vice President, I want to pick up
We'll
though.
have the
I
vaccine soon.
want to pick up on this question though. You say the public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just asked him. You pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying
Everybody
or
knows.
Senator Harris is saying you can't trust the
No,
scientists.
well, no, you can trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust
She said the public health
It said
experts.
If you're wondering when I'm gonna be turning on the light,
well.
once the sun goes down for real, then I'll turn on the light. Because saving power is always good, especially here,
Work for him.
where our state is almost doomed.
There are the people.
Possibly doomed if Gavin Newsom
By
runs
the way,
They will
for
have the
another
vaccine
2 years.
first.
But you believe for a moment what he's.
I'm not afraid of the
in
vaccine,
light of
but
all the lies he's told you.
I wouldn't
the whole
really say it's
issue relating to
it's the
COVID.
most necessary
He
thing
still
to
hasn't
get
even
because
acknowledged
I mean you're still gonna
that
get
he
it,
knew this was
not very
happening,
often,
knew
not
how dangerous
as
it would be
severely,
back in February.
not as severe, but you're still gonna get the virus, just like the flu, like the flu shot. You still get the flu even though you get the shot.
Market. One of the two, because guess what? A lot of people die, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
Mr. President.
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You
That is
graduated
so
either
stupid.
the lowest or almost the lowest in your class.
Wow,
You
I
used the word
people
smart.
really
I
white.
never use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what?
Man, I wish my
There's
teeth
nothing
were that
smart about
straight
you,
and
Jeff.
white.
47 years you've done
Let's
nothing.
have this debate.
And if you would have had, let me just tell you something, Jeff.
Well, I wouldn't say he hasn't done anything, but he hasn't done much.
I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
See,
I know, right?
Economy in the next section.
Getting better.
Okay.
It's going up fast.
Okay.
Look forward to
So
it.
when it comes to how the virus has been handled so far,
And even if Biden does want to
taken very
make the
different
economy
approaches,
go
and this is
high,
going
there's no way
affect
you'll be able to
how
do it
the
because
virus is
he has to be
handled
really fast,
by
quick
whoever
thinking.
of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several of those. Reopenings. Vice President Biden, you have been much more reluctant than President Trump about reopening the economy and schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is. You've
Yeah,
got to
right.
provide these businesses the ability to have the money
Kamala
to be able to reopen
Kamala will
PPE,
give you
as
the
well as
plan.
with the sanitation.
Yeah,
needs.
she has a great
They have to
plan.
Tell
provide
that to
them
Nancy
lots of-
Pelosi.
Well, he just shush for a minute.
Tell it to Nancy Pelosi. And
And
Schumer,
by the
right,
way,
Chuck?
Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, they have a plan. He won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet with the
Okay.
Senate. But he sits at his golf course and, well, I mean, literally, think about it.
You probably play
think
more
about
than I do, Joe.
What about this question?
Who laughs like
He
that?
wants to shut down this country. and I want to keep it open. And we did a great thing by shutting it
shut it
down.
down.
Wait a minute, Jeff. Let me shut you down for a second, Jeff.
Did he call Joe Jeff?
He wants to shut down the country. We just went through it. We had to because we didn't know anything about the disease. Now we found that elderly people with heart problems and
Yeah.
diabetes and different problems are very, very vulnerable. We learned a lot. Young children aren't.
Yeah.
Even younger people aren't. We've learned a lot. But he
And that's
wants to
why
shut
we
down.
should be able to go back to
People will
school
be hurt by continuing
full
to count
time.
in
Okay, well, I kind
Pennsylvania,
of like the
certain
hybrid thing.
states
It
that have
feels
been shut
more,
down. They have
you know,
Democrat
realistic.
One of the reasons they shut down is because they want to keep it shut down until after the election.
Yeah.
November 3rd.
Because
it's a political-
Whoa, see how fast he was talking? Wow, he's really good at talking. He was talking like this, he was talking this fast.
You have begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks.
Check the
as a
sunset
disease
again.
preventer. And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of
Sun's still out, so probably like
Are you questioning?
No, I think
maybe like 5 more minutes.
Just understand it.
maybe.
Look, I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on it, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had.
Trump has never wore a mask before, only like
social
one
distancing
time.
and all of the things.
Yeah, I'll just set a timer for 5 minutes, and I'll turn on the light.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
Huh.
I will say.
Well, not always. He only does that every now and then. But still, you do have a point.
Just give them the wherewithal to be able to.
Mr. Orange Head Man.
And I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Mr. Orange Man.
Make a big difference. His own
Orange
CDC
head.
said if we just
That's what
wore
Alex
masks
would
before
probably
now,
say.
If everybody wore masks and social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters.
And they've also said the opposite.
6 feet is bad enough, but 12 feet? Because I heard the CDC is going to make it the social distancing even greater. Like 12 feet, like come on, 12 feet.
Then he changed his mind. He said, "Mask it."
People with hearing problems won't even be able to hear the people from 12 feet if they talk really quiet, like Ethan does. Because Ethan talks really quiet, I'm not going to lie.
Holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people. Outside, yes, sir, agreed. Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller.
Inside, outside, whatever, I mean, inside preferably, but I mean,
It
has to be outside. It has to be outside.
Why are you holding the big?
I mean, yeah, nice to get some fresh air, that's for sure.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But you know,
I've done a great job as a president, and I'll have 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you not worried about
We
the
have a
disease
lot of
issue,
people.
sir?
Well, so far, we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference, according to the experts. But we do them outside. We have tremendous crowds, as you see. I mean, and literally.
Yeah, outside, less likely to get COVID, but I mean, come on, Trump, you could do it inside too. Just don't listen to the CDC, just do it inside. Just don't give a crap about them.
Stand back.
Because I
Put
don't.
on a mask.
They suck.
Put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way far away from those other people. So that's what he said. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing in one another.
We've had no negative
To
effect.
jail. No negative effect.
We've had no negative.
But that's kind of weird though, because like all the people are protesting. I mean, yeah, it's outside, but they're definitely not social distancing, and they're definitely like in large groups. So that's a little bizarre when I think about it. And schools aren't even open yet in some places.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy? Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy?
Yes.
The economy is.
Oh, I want to hear more about COVID, but
faster
whatever.
than expected from
Economy is
shutdown.
better. COVID, I
In the
guess.
second quarter, the
Well, yeah, duh, of
unemployment
course
rate
it
fell
is.
to
Right, Cody?
8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean to the American people in terms of the economy? President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China.
I don't know. I mean, I heard Reagan
We
made it
closed
pretty,
down, which
pretty
was
good
very
too.
psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong. And again, 2 million people would be dead now instead of Still, 204,000 people is too much.
I
One
mean,
person is too much.
2 million is a lot. I'm not saying that's a lot, Trump, but I mean, closing it down was the dumbest thing that the government could have ever done. So I'm really sorry, Trump, but I don't agree with what you're saying right there. I'm really sorry.
The likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And he wants to close down, he will shut it down again. He will destroy.
Yeah, that's definitely a bad thing. Yeah, I agree with you with that.
And alcohol and depression. When you start shutting it down, you take a look at what's happening in some of your Democrat-run states where they have these tough shutdowns. And I'm telling you, it's because they don't want to open it. One of them came out last week. You saw that. Oh, we're going to open up on November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting.
Well, I think the sun's down. I guess I could turn on the lights
People know
now.
what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look at these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, you got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on.
Yeah, I think because the lamp goes to 3, but I think for us right now 2 is good. See, I'm wearing my American shirt and my American hat.
Setting records as
Almost said it wrong.
You don't
Jeez.
need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
Patriotic.
All right. Your 2 minutes, sir.
Well, technically that is. I mean, even though my shirt has
As I said, posing the question,
baseball and only 3 stars in it, I mean that's still patriotic.
Recovery. What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done.
I thought you're a millionaire, Biden.
Billionaires have made another 300
Well, yeah, most rich people do stuff.
because of his profligate tax
Not all, but most.
proposal, and you only focus on the market. But you folks at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing? This guy paid a total of $750 in taxes.
Sir, wait, no, sir. It's just, I understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let him have it.
Do I get my time back? The fact is that he has, in fact, worked on this in a way that he's going to be the first president of the United States to leave office having fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it. And the idea that he has insisted
I think it's more people than
go
just
forward and
military
open,
than
you
Biden.
have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis.
Oh,
And he has
yeah,
no
yeah,
intention of
right.
doing anything
Yeah,
about making it
sure
better
you will.
for you all
And
that
besides,
have
COVID's gonna last for like
to
the next
your
50
safety.
years anyways.
Why are schools open? Because
Look at the
it
Black
costs
Plague.
a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to
Biden, we need schools to open.
School students masks. Then they decided no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone. He ought to get on the job and take care of the needs of the American people so we can open safely.
All right. Your time is up, sir. Well, you're going to get to it.
I'm not going to respond to that.
Well, you both have 2 minutes, sir.
Excuse me, he made a statement.
So did you.
People want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so sad what's happening in New York. It's almost like a ghost town. And I'm not sure it can ever recover what they've done in New York. People want their places.
Yeah, look at California, the second worst, I believe.
They'll be careful, but they want.
We're not even starting school until November. The hybrid. Maybe not even November. It may not even be until next year.
People of Ohio are very proud of me, and you know what I got that?
But then where Lee the father lives out in Utah, they already started hybrid online in the beginning of August. And we've only done online. It sucks. But then again, hybrid, at least here, does suck. I found out for our school in our district.
Income tax each of those years. I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers. I paid $38 million 1 year. I paid
Damn, that's a
$27
lot.
million a year. I went, you'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to do, go to the Board of Elections. There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under leveraged because the assets are extremely good, and I built up.
I'm asking you a specific question, which
But
is.
let me tell you.
I understand all of that. I understand all of that. No, Mr. President. I'm
Come
asking you a
on,
question.
Taco, whatever his name is.
How much
You need
paid
to let
in
Trump
federal
talk.
income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars.
So not
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it.
I'm-
And you'll get to see it. But let me just tell you, Chris, let me just say something, that it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We built a building and we get tax credits like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now the man got fired right after that happened, but
Vice
that's
President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher on the money a school teacher makes, is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And we're going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact,
Finally, one good thing that Biden said about
people out
Trump.
there need help.
But why didn't you do it over in the last 25 years?
Because you are
Why didn't
president.
you do it?
Trump is funny.
Things up.
You
That
were-
is true,
The
though.
worst president America has ever had.
Hey, let me just say, Joe, I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never even thought of doing,
Okay.
including fixing the broken military that you gave me, including taking.
Oh yeah, God, the military when Obama was president. God, that was the worst.
Going forward.
Well, I mean, it was still pretty good, but
President, your economic plan.
there was like no new equipment for the military man when Obama was president.
Big taxes, big spending. I want to focus first on the taxes. You
And I think the military men got paid less, too.
$4 billion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year.
So like they were fighting for their country for no reason.
President Trump
Really.
says that kind of an increase.
Because that's why a lot of the military guys joined, so they could get paid for life once they leave and to serve their country. But
The analysis done by Wall Street firms.
I mean, the stuff they had when Obama was president, I
My
mean, it
economic
was
plan would create
it was harder for them to, you know,
defeat
defeat
number one. And
the
number
more
two,
the ISIS.
it would create an additional $1 trillion.
Because the ISIS is almost gone, almost. I mean, there's still
Buying
a lot of ISIS guys out there
We're gonna make
killing
sure
people, but I mean, it's definitely gone down a lot since
$100
Trump
here,
was
and everything
president.
from
At least
ships
what I've
to
heard.
steel to buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
Well, by the way, I'm going to eliminate significant amount of the tax.
Finally, Tucker got mad at Biden for something, or whatever his name is. I believe it. I believe that's Tucker Carlson. I think.
Federal, I mean, and
Then again, it could be someone
they don't
else.
pay a
I don't
single
know.
penny in tax, making billions of
Why
dollars.
didn't you do it?
And no one's still watching this, but let me know down in the comments below if you know who that guy is that's interviewing them, because I have no freaking idea.
It's never been.
The economy is
Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You would continue your free market approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
not lower tax for American people.
Let me, but in Obama's, you talk about the economy booming. It turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights so you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It
Oh,
also
I heard
means
the stock
401k.
market was down when
If you
Obama was
win,
president.
If you ever became president with your
It was
ideas,
always at red.
My taxes,
And
I'll tell you
negative.
what, you lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty
Half
of
of the
companies that are
companies-
already here, they'll leave for
Every
other
companies
places.
have.
They will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look, we inherited the worst recession short of a depression.
Wow, I'm really surprised. Biden barely even messed up with this entire thing. So he only messed up in the beginning. So yeah, congrats to him for actually filing, talking normal.
It was the weakest Republican.
Okay, well, not there.
Is it fair to say he blew it when, in
When
fact, there was record low unemployment
Yeah.
before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole.
Excuse me,
Number
Chris.
one.
Wait,
Number two.
Chris.
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you're number two.
No.
Chris. They said it would.
Oh, his
take
name
a
is Chris,
miracle
never mind.
to bring back.
Don't have to put down comments.
I
His
brought
name
back
is Chris.
700,000 jobs. They brought back.
His name is freaking Chris.
Standard fare.
I'm the guy
He
that brought
totally
back
gave up on
automobiles.
manufacturing.
Let him
We brought back, I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew it. And in fact, they're going.
Ohio had the best year it's ever had last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
Why some do those weird ham
Gentlemen
movements?
from Germany, from Japan, went to Michigan and went to Ohio.
They're not.
And they didn't come in like that.
Mr. Vice President.
And so you take a look at what he's actually done. He's done very little, and its trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest trade deficit
China
with
ate-
Mexico.
That is true, but China
China ate
they're kind of
your son goes in,
betraying
takes out-
America. Really, I mean,
takes out
all the horrible
billions
stuff
of
they've been
dollars.
doing.
Takes out
So-
billions
so
of
us in
dollars
our
from
country,
United States,
like-
millions of dollars. And also,
We need to stop the China trade.
Why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with Burisma
None
to
of
deserve
that.
$183,000?
Ask the question and answer.
None of that is true.
Oh, really?
Totally,
But no, Mr. President,
it's
Mr.
totally,
President, please.
totally
ask the question.
discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait, he didn't get $3.5 million yet?
Mr. Vice.
He got $3.5 million.
President.
that is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr.
Oh,
President,
But
it's an open discussion, please.
No,
It's a fact.
Well,
there's
you have raised an issue, let the
It's been
Vice
totally
President answer.
discredited.
It was a rate of
Oh
$183,000 a
shoot,
month
this
with no
like
experience in
kind of
energy.
wet. God
Mr.
damn it.
President,
My son did nothing wrong in Burisma.
I think he did.
Mr.
The only
President,
guy that
let him answer.
he doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly
By
discredited.
who?
And
The media.
by everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media.
by our
He's the one who
allies,
used to
by
talk
the
about
World
it. He's
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone that's discredited. Matter of fact, even
Mr.
the people
President,
who
please stop.
testified under oath.
So let me ask you this.
Under
No, no,
oath.
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to you.
People under.
You got $3.5
He
million
testified,
from Moscow.
he testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well. I did it
I don't know who
honorably.
they are.
Well, I'll give you the list of the people who
No,
testified.
no, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a good job.
Some people don't.
Well, here's,
I'm coming right back,
Go
guys.
ahead, wait a minute, you get the final word.
well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me, this.
Hey, let me just say,
No, Mr. President,
$3.5
Mr.
million,
President.
Joe.
That is simply.
Why did he
Not true.
deserve $3.5 million from Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics. I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's
My
already.
family,
No, no, no,
my family lost a fortune by coming down and helping us with government.
And that's such
And the
a.
regular,
Mr.
That's such a
every
great.
single one of them lost.
This is not about my family or his family. It's about your family.
They didn't
American people.
$3.5
He
million.
doesn't. That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about.
But you
All right, that's the end of the segment, we're moving on.
It didn't take that.
Vice President, it's no.
Can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
point.
honest.
He stood up.
No,
He stood up.
the answer to the question is no.
You
Okay, guys, I'm back.
With $1 billion, if you
It's nice because today it was really hot. I think it was like over 90 degrees, and it's only like
Gentlemen,
in the low mid 80s up here in the upstairs. So yeah, it's definitely a lot nicer than what it normally is when it's this hot.
6 segments. He had ended that segment.
I don't know about tomorrow though. Tomorrow's supposed to be pretty hot.
You each are gonna have
Because like there's some heat wave going on here in California, I guess.
You can say anything you want. I've been asked a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more interrupting.
Oh, that's all right, but he does plenty.
Well, less than, sir, less than,
I don't know. I mean,
less than you have.
He does have a point. I mean, you do interrupt quite a bit. It's kind of funny though when Trump interrupts.
Response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked about very fine people on both sides, was what directly
Oh,
led
there's
you
people watching. That's cool.
to launch this run for president.
Oh, yeah, sure.
President Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more for Black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is, why should voters?
I think Abraham Lincoln did more, but
to deal with
Trump
the race issues
probably
facing
second
this
best, I'm
country
assuming.
over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone.
Wow.
Equality for the whole.
First time you messed up since
But we've never
what was it?
accomplished
35
We've
minutes?
never walked away
Unbelievable.
from what King's done. It is true. The
Bravo,
the
Biden.
races when those people, close your eyes. Remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, spewing anti-Semitic bile, and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president's ever said anything like that.
It is this
Now, second point I'd make to you is that when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest.
Floyd was a bad man.
What did he do?
He was bad.
Had the military.
He was a very bad man. He did a lot of drugs.
To a church and hold up the Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year,
Why not the Asians or the Hispanics?
Been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans.
Or the Caucasians?
This man,
Or the Indians?
this
Or
man
the
is a savior of African Americans.
the Europeans? What about all
Cares
them?
at all. This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
So, President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with
He
racism?
did a crime bill, 1994, where you call them super predators, African Americans, super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten
Wow,
it.
that's really
It's just 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you super predator.
You're a
and I'm
traitor,
letting
Biden.
people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the Black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the 19 and that's
Smiling. So yeah,
look at the polls.
he knows that
Better
Trump is
than
right.
Any Republican has done in a long time because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that because you look back at your testimony over the years. You've
Like
called
the
them
N-word?
worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals. Total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because You know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day and they put up their hands and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases radical left. And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right. I want to return to the question of race. Vice President Biden, after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case decided not to charge any of the police with homicide, you said it raises the question, quote, whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
Yes, there's systemic injustice in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable men and women. They risk their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples. And when they occur, when you find them, they have to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House, well, everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers, to the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out so we change the way in which we have more transparency in when these things happen. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor. Most don't like it, but we have to have a system where people are held accountable. And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right,
What is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of town and burn down your stores and kill people all over the place?
Yeah, I don't believe in protesting. It's fine if you do it online, like online protesting groups. But I think protesting like in the streets should be abolished, in my opinion. But I mean, Biden is right. Like everything that's going on with like the protests, they're definitely not peaceful.
Why did you decide to do that, to end racial sensitivity training? And do you believe that there is systemic racism in this country, sir?
I ended it because it's racist.
Oh, it's in
I ended
Cleveland.
it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane, that it was a radical revolution that was taking place
That's a
in the
funny,
military,
that's a funny word.
in
Radical.
schools, all over the place, and you know it, and so does everybody else. And he would know.
What is
It was totally racist.
racial sensitivity training?
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and frankly very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Yeah, I knew the professors were teaching the students bad stuff, but I didn't know it was for those reasons, which I'm probably going to get out of the way.
Let him finish. The fact is that there is racial insensitivity. People have to be made aware of what other people feel like, what insults them, what is demeaning to them. It's important that people know they don't want to. Many people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but it makes a big difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how
Bullying is a serious problem.
Look down on so many people.
Look at Cody from Catholic Psycho. Look what happened to him.
Like me and grew up in Scranton. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people who are of a different faith. They look down on people who are a different color. In fact, we're all Americans. The only way we're going to bring this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do if we do it together. We can take this on and we can defeat racism.
I don't know. I think you're lying because what you said about those races was really not cool.
There was hatred. You look at Ferguson. You look at You go to very many places. Look at Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened. Frankly, it was more violent than what I'm even seeing now. But the reason is that the Democrats that run these cities don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
You
crime.
still haven't mentioned. Are you in favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You follow.
Are you in favor of law and order? Go ahead, son.
You asked a question.
Come on, Biden, just answer the freaking question already.
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. And the fact
You
that
need-
violent crime went down.
He's so dumb. He won't answer the question. He needs to answer the question about law and order. We need police. We can't defund them because they kill a few black people.
Mr. President, you're going to be very happy because we're now going to talk about law and order.
We had trouble with Democrats.
We need to talk about law and order,
cities.
Chris. Law and order is a serious thing that's going on right now.
This summer, particularly, and you often blame that on Democratic mayors and Democratic governors, but
That is really true, actually.
equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort Worth. So the question is
But
this
then again, that is
party
true, but
issue?
It's mostly
I
the
think it's a
Democrats,
party
like
issue. You can bring in
the letting of
examples,
protesters
but if you look
go
at
and
Chicago,
protest
what's
and
going on in
destroy
Chicago,
stuff and
where
kill people, and
53
it's
people
horrible.
were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150, 200% crime.
I know, like every day, like a few cops die. It's horrible. I mean, yeah, that's definitely not like a few hundred a day. That would be ridiculous. But I mean, that's definitely still quite a bit.
And they ran it the way he would want to run it. We would have our suburbs would be gone. By the way, our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like
He
you never
would
saw.
know a suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
I know
He
suburbs.
would not. I was
Go
raised.
ahead and make this.
I was raised in the suburbs. This is not 1950. All these dog.
Oh
whistles
yeah,
houses
I think our
and-
neighborhood's like a suburb,
Suburbs are by and
sort
large
of.
integrated. There's many people
Suburban
today
or
driving their
however
kids
you
to
pronounce
soccer
it, but
practice and/or
yeah, I'm afraid one of these
black
days
and white
Antifa's
and
gonna
Hispanic
come
in
and
the same
just
car
make it,
as there have
you
been
know,
any
more
time
like
in the
a
past.
hood or
What
whatever.
really is a threat to the
The
suburbs
hood.
is his failure to
Make
deal
it
with
like
crime
Road
dying
Street
in the
from
suburbs.
GTA.
His failure to deal with the environment. They're being flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though, and in the joint
Oh, okay, never mind.
From the Biden
Never mind. I took that back about what I said about Chris. I'm really sorry, Chris. You're somewhat good. I'm gonna classify him as a libertarian for now.
And do you support?
It means
Let me,
Because he likes Biden a little bit and he likes Trump a little bit, so he's more of a libertarian.
Black Lives Matter
I technically classify as a libertarian, sort of in a way.
for
Well,
community
technically,
control of
Won't
police.
be classified as one until I'm 18,
what I
but
support is the police
but
having the
I like
opportunity to deal
more
with
about
the
Trump
problems they face.
than Biden.
And I'm totally opposed.
Not
to
even
funding
equal
the police
amount.
officers.
Like
As a matter of fact,
75% Trump and 25%
Even
Biden.
with the funding, and his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a
I
psychologist.
can't believe you know what 9/11 is. I'm
to
really
keep them
surprised.
From having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have
Do
to
you
have
support the
community
Black Lives
control like we
Matter
had
call
before,
for community
where the officers
control
get to know the people
policing?
in the communities? That's when crime
policing.
went down. It didn't go up. It went down.
I'm sorry, I don't know how
So we
to,
have to
I don't know how to
be
pronounce
ready.
words. I'm really sorry, but
That's
yeah, that's a good question, guys.
That's not true.
I don't support it one bit because all lives matter.
That's not true.
Trump knows that. That guy,
Oh, right. Who do you have? Name one
There.
group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you.
that guy right there,
Think. We have time.
We
he
don't
supports
have time to
it.
do
Sorry, I can't do it that well because this stupid iMac camera is being so stupid. Sorry, guys, I'm raging right now because of the stupid iMac camera. God.
Another subject, which is the issue of protests
Correct.
in many cities that have turned violent. In Portland, Oregon,
Correct.
especially, we had more than 100 straight days of protests, which I think you would agree. You talk about peaceful protests. Many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President,
The riots have been going on since
you say
George
that
Floyd died, I
people who
believe.
commit crimes
He died in like
accountable. The question I have
late
is,
February. I
the
think like a
Democratic
week after my
nominee, earlier tonight,
birthday,
you said
I think.
that you are the Democratic Party right now. Have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you'd stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted. And anyone who commits it
But you've
should be
never
prosecuted.
called for the people, the leader, excuse me, sir. You have never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to call
Because
bring in the National Guard.
Yeah, why didn't you do that, Biden?
Days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Here.
Oh, really?
Here's the
But
thing.
no,
I
that's
sent
sorry,
in the
wait,
US
I-
Marshal.
Oh my God.
In the middle of the street, they shot him. Man, for 3
Yes,
days,
President Trump.
Portland didn't do anything. I had sent in the US Marshal, and they took care of business.
Oh, poor Chris. I feel bad for
As
him.
our former spokesperson said,
No, seriously, I kind of do.
and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all
I
about.
don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said.
She said that.
that.
And so here's the point.
Go
The
ahead.
point is that that's what he is keeps trying to rile everything up. He doesn't want to calm things down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with
No,
this.
oh
What's he
God,
doing?
that
He just pours gas.
that would
on
be
the fire
nice if
constantly.
that could work,
Every
but
single
there's no way that could possibly work. Those Antifa people are not normal. They're technically they're somewhat psychotic, really. They have like mental disorders, like actual mental disorders, like bipolar or schizophrenia or like psychosis. They're not normal. They're not normal people. I mean, the people who support it, like the support the Black Lives Matter, I mean, they're not necessarily mental. But the people who support the rioting and the rioters themselves, they're really, really mental.
Are you willing tonight?
Like something's mentally wrong with those people, you know?
And to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland.
Kenosha.
You might have to do that,
Specifically,
but do it. I would say almost everything I see is from the left.
Where the hell is that at? I think that's Wisconsin where Kyle, that Kyle Vaughn's house
Do it. Say it.
kid, shot the Antifa members.
Give me a name. Give me a
I
name.
think that's what it's called, Kenosha. Yeah, Kenosha's, yeah, that's a bad place. You don't want to live there right
And
now.
stand by.
I feel really sorry for the people who have to live there for their business. I'm really sorry for those people.
Because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left. This is a left-wing problem.
I like that Trump does that.
Antifa's an
He's like
idea,
this.
not an organization.
You got it.
Like, what?
Here's an idea.
Why does Trump always do this? That's how he talks. He talks like this. And it's really funny to make fun of sometimes. But with Biden, he talks like this. He talks like this. You know, he babbles, bubbling, whatever. You know what I mean. God.
It is generally a referendum on his record.
Oh, I got
President Biden, you like to quote one of your
from
dad's
Professor.
sayings, which is "Don't compare me
Cool.
to the Almighty."
I don't care about you right now, Professor.
In this case, sir,
I care about this. I want to know about this.
Looking at both of your records, I'm going
Watch
to
it for at
ask
least
you,
10 more minutes and just end it off there because I don't want to do it super
over
long.
your opponent in this segment, President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
But then again, maybe I might as well just do it until 7:30 because I need to know how it ends. Because I only missed 15 minutes. Well, technically, 20, 25 because I was running errands.
And you saw what happened
while I was
today
making the
with
video,
Hillary
so,
Clinton,
yeah.
where it was a whole big con job. But despite going through all of these things, I had to fight both flanks and behind me and above. There has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling and they were saying it's time maybe. And then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of the military, including Space Force and all of the other things.
Yeah, Space Force. We need to
the VA,
protect ourselves from China because
308,000 people
because they're up in space trying to get rid of our internet.
And we now got a 90.
Trying to make it where I can't make videos, to be honest. I think about it.
But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you
The
something. Some
job
people
that
say
we've
maybe
done.
the
I like
message
Trump's voice.
by the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300
God, I hope Trump wins. I
federal
mean,
judges and court
Biden said a lot of
300
stuff that could probably,
and
like, you know,
hopefully
trick
great
people.
Supreme Court judges. justices. That is a
Because he was almost starting to trick me. I was like,
very few people.
Biden
You know, one of
actually
the
somewhat
reasons there are
good?
so many judges,
but
because
him
President Obama
and
him left
Kamala
128
Camila, I don't know.
judges to fill.
Kamala
When
Harris,
you leave office, you
who
don't leave
else?
any judges. That's
Bernie,
you just don't do that. They left
Harley,
128 openings.
Gavin,
And if I were a
all
member
those
of
people,
his
they
party,
lie. They
because they have
like
no
Obama.
people
He
for
said he
us,
was going to do all
I'd
this
say if you
crazy
left
stuff, but he
us
never did.
128 openings.
So
You
yeah,
can't be a
hopefully
good
people
president.
don't
You
fall
can't be a
into
good vice
his
president.
beliefs,
But
his
I wanna thank
lies.
you because
To
it
be,
gives
to
us
be
almost.
exact.
It'll probably be above that number by the end of this term.
I'm sorry.
300 judges. It's a record.
Looking at both
That's a
your
lot of
records,
judges.
why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more
Trump's
violent.
face. He's like, you know what?
When I
I don't give a
was
crap. I
Vice
don't give a
President,
crap about what
we
you
inherited a
say.
recession.
That's what
I
he's
was
probably
asked to
saying in his
fix it.
head.
I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused a recession. With regard to being weaker, the fact is that I've gone head to head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about the bounty on the heads of American soldiers. His son got
No.
I don't know. Trump and Putin get along pretty well, so I mean,
Wait a minute. Mr. President, your campaign.
if he does talk about that, I mean, Putin's probably gonna be like, yeah, sure, and then he's gonna lie and he's gonna be like, yeah, whatever, I'm gonna do it anyway.
Why don't you observe what your campaign?
Jumping all over the place.
Okay, sir.
He never keeps his word.
Okay, he wouldn't say that. That's what
I'm
Beasley
not
would say.
saying that was a rhetorical question.
Can you
Go
go
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yeah, yes, you may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
So,
No interrupting, Trump,
we're
please.
poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID.
Wow.
You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before. In terms of
Good
being
point. I mean, that is
violent,
true.
when we
Well,
were
I wouldn't really
15%
necessarily
less
say
violence in America than
That all the billionaires are making more money.
It's on his watch. And with regard to more divided, the nation can't stay divided. We can't be this way. And speaking of my son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being losers and being and
That's
just
not
being
true.
suckers. My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot. And the people left behind there.
Oh God, Biden's scaring me. Biden's mad.
I'm talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking
I
about
don't know, Bo. I know Hunter.
Bro.
Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true.
For
Was it
cocaine use, and he didn't
Ooh,
have a job.
damn. What are you gonna do about that, Biden? Trump is he's roasting you live. And everyone's able to hear it and see it.
My son,
And he didn't have a
my
job.
son.
Biden, you need to shut up. You
You
need to shut up,
Had
Biden.
a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it.
I'm gonna look up Bo Biden.
But why was
I'm gonna see if he does
He
drugs.
wasn't given 10 million. That is totally.
Bo Biden.
We've already been
Oh, okay.
We've already been through this. I
Did
think the American
Bo
people would rather hear
Biden
about more substantial
do
subjects. Well, you know, as
drugs?
the moderator, sir, I'm going to make a
No,
judgment
no,
call there.
it's $3.5 million from the
Let's
mayor
talk
of
about-
Moscow.
let's talk about
That is
true.
not
Gentlemen,
That report is totally discredited.
The Wall Street Journal.
Mitt Romney on
Journal.
Albany said it wouldn't make taxpayers money to
what else?
put it
USA
for
Today.
no reason.
You know, I'd like to talk
CNN.com.
about
Oh, God.
Okay.
The New Yorker. Most of these news channels are not that good,
Millions of acres.
but I might as well just do, I don't know, Wall Street Journal's not a real news.
When state officials there-
USA Today is somewhat realistic, I believe,
You said, I don't
because it's about America, ABC News.
Over your 4 years, you have
2019
pulled the U.S. out of the
NBC,
Paris
no.
Climate Accord.
Worked
You
for
have rolled back
CNN.
a number of Obama environmental records.
USA Today.
Do you
I'm doing
believe
that.
about the science of climate change?
I don't want.
And what will you do in the next 4 years
Right.
to confront it?
God bless America.
Crystal
Frick.
clean water.
Oh my God.
I want beautiful, clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at
Oh my God, guys, look. Biden looks worse there than what he does now. No joke. He actually looks worse there than what he does now.
if you look at the Paris Accord, it was a
That's what his
disaster
son
from our
Hunter.
standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's
So
going
I'm
on.
gonna pause it, not pause it, but I'm gonna just turn the volume down for a second to read you guys this. So okay. Well, great. Okay, stupid. This thing is being stupid USA Today. But anyways, it says the younger son of Vice President Joe Biden. Okay, yeah, I'm saying that right. The younger son of Vice President Joe Biden failed a drug test for cocaine a month after his commissioning last year into the Navy Reserve and was discharged. So, yeah, Biden's son, Beau, he was only in the military for 1 year and he was doing cocaine. That's probably why he did better in the military, I'm assuming. So, yeah, he literally got kicked out in a year for doing cocaine. And Biden, he's denying it.
California's burning.
He's
California's
feeling guilt.
If that
He's
was
guilty
clean,
in his head. And
if you
deep
had
in his head, he's
forest management,
guilty
good forest
about
management,
his son
you wouldn't be
doing cocaine in the
You know,
military.
in Europe, they live their forest cities.
Ridiculous.
Forest cities. They maintain their forests. They manage their forests. I was with the head of a major country. It's a forest city. He said, "Sir, we have trees that are far more, they ignite much easier than California. There shouldn't be that problem." I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I said, at some point,
Look
you
at
can't
Biden.
every year have
He's like, yeah,
hundreds
right.
of thousands of acres of land just burned.
I know, California, like over 1 million acres of our forests have been burned already in California this summer. It's horrible. Probably the worst in California history. Most of them were man-made too.
Driving energy prices through
Quite
the
a
sky.
few were actually from lightning strikes, surprisingly. Which I am very, to be honest, I'm very shocked about that. But most of it's man-made, like at least like 65% of it.
It's a much safer car, and you're talking about a tiny difference. And then what would happen, because of the cost of the car, you would have at least double and triple the number of cars purchased. We have the old slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by $3,500.
They simply
No, but you would take a lot of cars off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now,
True, cars are really
by the way, we're
expensive
going to see how that
nowadays.
turns out. But a lot of people agree with
That's
me.
why a lot of people lease
The car
cars
has gotten
instead of like
so
actually
expensive
buying them
because
right
they
off
have
the bat.
computers all over the place for an extra little bit
Okay.
of
Yeah,
gas.
all over the place.
And
Jumping all over
I'm
the
okay
place.
with electric cars too. I think I'm all for electric cars. I've given big incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just crazy.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you to respond to the president's climate change record, but I also want to ask you about a concern. You proposed $2 trillion in green jobs. You talk about new limits, not abolishing, but new limits on fracking, ending the use of fossil fuels to generate electricity by 2035, and zero net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong, number one. Number two, if in fact, during our administration...
I don't know, I mean, new jobs would be made and then old jobs will be taken out, so I mean...
To cheaper than or
Kinda
as cheap
even.
as coal,
Kinda even it out, but-
and oil. Nobody's going to build.
Yeah, I think we still need oil and gas for at least something.
No
I
one's going to
mean,
build another
it
oil
doesn't have to be
plant.
electric for
They're
everything.
going to move to renewable energy, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that we are able to take the federal fleet and turn it into a fleet that's run on their electric vehicles. Making sure we can do that, we're going to put 500,000 charging stations in all of the highways that we're going to be building in the future. We're going to build an economy that, in fact, is going to provide for the ability of us to take 4 million buildings and make sure that they, in fact, are weatherized in a way that, in fact, they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will not be going out. There's so many things that we can do now to create thousands and thousands of jobs. We can get to net zero in terms of energy production by 2035. Not only not costing people jobs, creating millions of good paying jobs, not $15 an hour, but prevailing wage, by having a new infrastructure that in fact is green. And the first thing I will do, I will rejoin the Paris Accord. I will join the Paris Accord because with us out of it, look what's happening. It's all falling apart. And talk about someone who has no relationship with foreign policy. Brazil, the rainforests of Brazil are being torn down, are being ripped down. More carbon is absorbed in that rainforest than every bit of carbon that's emitted in the United States. Instead of doing something about that, I would be gathering up and making sure we had the countries of the world coming up with $20 billion, saying, here's $20 billion. Stop tearing down the forest. And if you don't,
I don't know if that'll work.
Significant economic consequences.
I don't think that'll work.
President Trump basically.
And besides, globalization didn't work anyways. I mean, look at the lovely relationship we have with China. Very lovely. So
Well, he hadn't drawn a line.
On
He said,
point.
For example, make sure.
on point, really lovely.
Methane's not a problem. You can now emit more methane.
Oh God, 7:24 already.
This is a guy who says that.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna be doing this live stream for like maybe like 10-15 more minutes because hold on, I need to turn this down. Because basically I was thinking of like once this presidential debate ends, I'm basically gonna be like talking about it like what I thought about it, and that might take like 5-10 minutes. I'll try to do it in like 5 minutes, but I don't know. We'll have to see how things go.
They want to take out the cows too. You know, that's not true either, right?
We need cows. God
This
put
is a
cows on
$100
this planet for a
billion. That's
reason.
more money
We
than our
eat
country
meat
could make.
for a reason because God puts the cows on the planet. Come on, Biden. Come on, babbling Biden. You have to think like a man.
And it includes upgrading 4 million
Can't think like
buildings,
a
weatherizing 2
baby
million
bot.
homes over 4 years.
Well, that's a good nickname for Biden. Baby body Biden. Baby Biden body.
The president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs, good paying jobs.
But let him finish, sir.
He doesn't know how to do that.
$100 billion.
The fact is, it's going to create millions of good paying jobs, and these tax incentives for people to weatherize, which he wants to get rid of. It's going to make the economy much safer. Look how much we're paying now to deal with the hurricanes. By the way, he has an answer for hurricanes. He said maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them. They may.
I never said that.
That's what he did.
We need to set a nuke
Here's the
on
deal.
China for real.
We
Not
are in a
kidding.
position where we can
Same with North Korea as well.
hard
And,
jobs by
what else?
making sure the
Syria.
environment is
Yeah,
clean,
definitely.
and we all are in
Definitely
better
Syria.
shape. We spend billions of dollars now, billions of dollars on floods, hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happened just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa. That didn't happen before. They're because of global warming. We
Oh,
make up 15%
God,
of
I'm
the
cringing, guys. Global.
we in fact, but
Oh my God, you're so stupid. It doesn't exist.
Back into the
Oh my
Paris
God,
Accord.
it doesn't.
So why
It's
didn't you do
climate
it for
change.
27 years? You were
The
president.
climate
Why
always
didn't you do it?
changes. Well,
China
now
sends
definitely
up
because
real
of
dirt
the
into the
large
Russia
population
does
of the
things
Earth,
as
but
they all do.
the climate has always been changing, Biden.
He made a couple
Come on,
steps.
don't be an
Green
idiot,
New Deal
stupid
is $100
babbling
trillion.
mother. And you know what?
That's
Green
well,
New
Don't want to
Deal.
actually say the word, but mother trucker. That's what you are, mother trucker.
He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay.
That is
What he did was he
I didn't know
said
Biden has
he called the
friends.
military stupid bastards.
I
He
did
said
not
it on
say
tape.
that.
Come on, Chris, let Trump talk for a little bit. Biden's been talking all day. At least for now, he has.
Go ahead. Mr. Vice President, answer his final question.
The final question is, I can't remember which of all was granted.
I'm having a little trouble myself, but and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea of what your environmental change.
Oh my God, Biden! Oh my God, Biden's not going to be able to make it.
Itself as we move forward.
You have a heart attack or something, bro.
Are great polluting plants.
But you support the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
You support?
No, I don't support the Green
Oh,
New Deal.
you don't? Oh, well, that's a big statement.
I
That
support
means
the
you just the radical left.
I support the Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is
Oh my
different
God,
than
I'm
the
cringy.
radical
Like-
Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen.
Look at my face. I'm cringing. I'm actually cringing.
As we meet tonight, millions of Americans are receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early. How confident should we be that this will be a fair election? And what are you prepared to do over the next 5+ weeks? Because it'll not only be to Election Day, but also counting some ballots, mail-in ballots after Election Day. What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate winner of this election? In this final segment, Mr. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people vote. They should go to iwillvote.com. Decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own Homeland Security Director, and as well as the FBI Director, says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated and cheating. They said that. The fact is that there are going to be millions of people because of COVID that are going to be voting by mail-in ballots, like he does, by the way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure they can socially distance. The polls are open on time, and their polls stay open until the votes are counted. And this is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be legitimate. Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you.
Oh, I can't vote Biden. I'm only
He
16.
cannot stop
I can't vote
from being
for
able
another
to
2 years.
determine the
I'm
outcome
really
of this
sorry.
election.
Really sorry,
In terms of
Biden.
whether or not when the
Really
votes
sorry.
are counted and they're all counted, that will be accepted. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that will be accepted. But by the way, if in fact he says he's not sure what he's going to accept, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter, because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over. He's going to go. He can't stay in power. It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote. Just make sure you understand you have it in your control to determine what this country is going to look like the next 4 years. Is it going to change, or you get 4 more years of these lies?
Mr. President, 2 minutes.
So when I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people.
Ooh, yeah, Hillary was pretty bad.
Because they came after
I
me,
think
tried to
by
do
far
a
she was
coup.
one of the
They
worst.
came after me spying on my campaign. They
And
started
Obama
from
too.
the
Oh
day I
God,
won, and
Obama
even
was really
before I won,
bad.
From the day I came down the escalator with our first lady, they were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country, and we've caught them. We've caught them all.
I think you're over-exaggerating there a bit,
We've
but
caught them all. And by the
yeah,
way,
I
you
get it. She
for
was
the
pretty
Logan
bad.
Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that, because we caught you in a sense, and President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition. As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. A solicited ballot, okay, solicited is okay. You're soliciting, you're asking, they send it back, you send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out.
Wow, that's really sad. Why would you let that happen,
This is going to
Biden?
be a fraud.
Trump has a good
I've never
point.
seen. The other thing, it's
You need to
nice.
stop
November
throwing
3rd,
away
you're watching, and you see who won the
Republicans'
election. I
vote.
think we're gonna
You need
do
to stop
well
throwing
because
away
people are
Republican
really
votes.
happy with the job we've done.
I wonder if this happens to libertarians too. I
No,
mean,
for months. Because these
probably the
ballots
libertarians
are
who like Trump,
Take a look at
because
what
I'm
happened
one
in
of them.
Manhattan. Take a
So.
look at what happened
By God,
in New Jersey.
well,
Take a look at what happened
when I
in
start
40
voting, I'm
places.
probably going to do it in
They're not
person.
losing 2%, 1%.
Because
By the way,
it's so much
much.
easier
Election could be
anyways.
won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. And can you imagine where they say you have to have your ballot in by November 10th? November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major
No, that's
states with
true.
that. All run by
2 minutes is
Democrats.
2 minutes.
All run by
Here.
Democrats. It's
President Trump.
It's a rigged election.
Well, that is true as well.
Continue. You have been charging for months that mail-in balloting is going to be a disaster. You say it's rigged, that it's going to lead to fraud.
Rigged.
But in 2018, in the last midterm election, 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I don't think, well, I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so. Because what's happening is incredible. I just heard...
When I get to 1 hour and 20 minutes, I'm going to end it from there because I don't want to do it too long.
Invalidated. They take them, we don't like them, we don't like them. They throw them out left and right.
Because, I mean, I still want to listen to how this ends, but, I mean, time flies by really fast, and I don't want to waste that time.
You go and vote. You go and vote. Like they used to in the old...
Millions of people.
You either do, Chris, a solicited ballot where you're sending it in, they're sending it back, and you're sending... They have mailmen with lots of it. Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia. Mailmen selling the ballots. They're being sold. They're being dumped in rivers.
Okay, guys, Trump over there, he's making good points, but I'm gonna have to end this. I'm really sorry, guys, but I mean, time flies by really fast. Okay, is this working? Okay, hold on a sec. This will take a few seconds. Turn off the TV. Okay, so now I have to flip this stupid Mac this way. Oh, there, all gradually. Okay. So I'm just gonna have it here for now. So 5 minutes. I'm gonna set a timer. And I'm gonna be basically explaining what I thought about the presidential debate starting right now. So I thought the presidential debate went pretty good. Biden, he said a lot of stuff that seemed like it was good, but I don't know. He's just like what Trump said. He lies a lot. I mean, everyone does lie every now and then, every once in a while. But, I mean, Biden definitely does lie a lot. At least Kamala, I think that's her name. Kamala does. And basically, I believe she's been telling Biden all this stuff, like everything he said and debates. Well, the debate, like all that. She was telling Biden. She was telling him to say all that stuff about like how horrible Trump is and how he's going to do such a good job, which, I mean, he may do a couple, maybe, like, if he does become president, he may do a couple good things, but overall, most of it's just a lie. It's not going to happen. Kind of like Obama. Like, most of it never happened, and I really don't want this old man to win. But then again, Trump is pretty old, too, but I don't want this old, demented man to win because half the time he doesn't even know what he's talking about. Surprisingly, he actually did really good that entire time. He only messed up like a few times. Like, he did really good then, but that's because he probably secretly had a transcript somewhere that Kamala wrote out for him, and he was just reading all that. Okay, well, probably not, but I mean, who knows? I mean, the Democrats are pretty sneaky. At least most of them are, but yeah, I thought the presidential debate went really good. I really liked when Trump and Biden were yelling at each other, and the Chris guy, he was like, "Come on, guys, settle down. Let the vice president talk. Let the president talk." It was really funny, and I really liked when Biden got really mad at Trump when Trump was admittedly telling Biden truthfully about what happened with his son Beau, with the whole military cocaine thing. And even the internet said that happened, and Biden is still denying it. Apparently, it seemed like he was denying it in the debate. And it was really funny. He was pointing fingers at Trump, and he was like, "Do not!" Wait, he was like, "Do not talk to my son like that. Do not! He fought his..." Wait, shoot, I messed up. He served his duty. He fought for our country. He's a patriot. You need to accept him. You need to appreciate him. He was a good man. He never smoked cocaine. He was a really good man. Stuff like that, you know. It was really funny. I also like with Trump, he kept doing this, and Biden didn't let me talk. Everything you're doing is wrong. Everything. You're such a failure. Stuff like that, you know. It was really funny. I really liked when he was doing that. But, yeah, I actually thought the presidential debate went pretty good, especially now since I know about politics more. Back with the Trump and Hillary thing, I didn't know anything about politics, and I liked Hillary just because she was Hillary, and she was amazing. At least in my mind, I thought that. But anyways, let's check the time. See how many more minutes we have. I'll still have a little bit of time. But yeah, to end off, I'm just gonna say whether I think Trump or Biden is gonna win, because you guys are probably wondering if you guys even do watch this. I think Trump most likely is gonna win. At the very worst, Biden will win. But I'm not trying to be mean when I say this, but he's probably gonna die from COVID. He's probably gonna get it, contract it from Kamala or some other Democrat, like I don't know, some other person he's working with, some other Democratic person he's working with, or Republican, or whoever he's working with. They may have COVID, and they may not have been tested, and he could possibly get it, and he could possibly die. Once that happens, then I'm pretty sure Trump will have to come in. I mean, like, for real honesty, he'll have to come in probably. But yeah, anyways, let me end my timer. So yeah, that's all for today's video. I promise you guys that I'm going to be doing another one of this on October 22nd, I believe, with the Koopalings and all of my plushies, almost all my plushies. I'm going to be having them react to it in some way. But if I don't do that, then I'll probably just do it like how I did right now. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to see how that works. But anyways, guys, make sure you check out my other videos, and definitely make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and turn on notifications. See you in the next video. Peace. Bye.